Lots of photographers now want to know how to do macro photography, and that's because there's just so many cool images of macro things all over the internet. Spiders, insects, flowers, all those sorts of things. And it's a really cool genre of photography. But for newbies, for new people taking this sort of photos, it's actually pretty difficult. Macro photography isn't always easy, especially for beginners. But in this video, I'm going to show you some really creative ways, really easy to understand ways to capture some macro photography with your mobile phone. There's lots and lots of things to know about macro photography, but really there's three things. And if you get these three things right, you're well on your way to taking some cool photos. Number one is a lens. Now, some phones already come with a macro lens in it. I'm talking about a physical macro lens. So a dedicated camera on your phone just for macro photography. There's not many of them, there's only a couple around. Second option there is to use a macro mode, and some phones come with that as well. iPhones, for example, you can download a few different apps, like Camera Plus 2, for example, has a macro mode in it. The S21 Ultra has a macro mode in it. But I'm telling you now, nothing comes nearly as close to that of true macro as a mechanical lens. That's either a lens that's in the camera or a lens that you'll screw on to the camera. The phone that I'm using here today is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. This principles, everything I'm talking to you about here today is exactly the same for every single phone. Every phone. The mechanical lens that I'm using is a Sandmarc macro lens. It's a 25mm Sandmarc macro lens. And so far, what I've done with this, I'm really impressed. Number two is the focal distance, or the working distance from the front of your lens to the subject that you're shooting. And with macro photography, this is probably the hardest part of it, the focal distance, the working distance. When you take a regular photo with your phone, there's a lot of things in focus. Your focus point might be a meter away, and things that are 100 meters away seem like they're in focus as well. If you think about your portrait mode, if your phone has portrait mode in the camera and the focal distance is nice and small and the background behind people is nice and blurry, the bokeh is really, really impressive. Well, it's kind of like that, but on steroids. It is really, really narrow. It's really hard to find that working distance. It's the hardest thing to get your head around, well, not get your head around, but it's the hardest skill set to develop with macro photography. And the reason that I like this lens here is because this diffuser that is on this lens right here, that there is the working distance for this lens. So all I need to do is put this the diffuser up against the subject and it's going to be in focus. It's that easy. Makes it nice and easy. The third thing is really just your composition. Composition in macro photography, it really comes down to three, but really you can use any of them if they fit the photo. It usually comes down to filling the frame, negative space, and rule of thirds. You're almost always going to use those three. You're not like restricted by those three, but they're generally the ones that you're going to use most of the time. And once you understand that, well, you go and take some photos. It's really not hard. What are you going to shoot? Well, the obvious things are bugs and flowers. Now, I just found a spider here. It's not very big, it's only a little tiny one. I'll see if I can get right in on him there. There he is. Really hard to see that one. Did you see him? There he is there. He's moved a little bit now. We'll see if we can get him again. There he goes. Slow-mo would be cool with him as well. I think that'll look pretty good. That'll be good. I reckon it is good. It is good. Look at this. Don't limit yourself to that. Look for everyday objects that you have around your house, around your garden, anywhere you like, and you'll be surprised the sort of macro photos that can come out of it. If you have a light source, a torch, a panel light, anything like that, bring it with you, because quite often the dark places that you photograph these things do require extra light. This sort of lens diffuser will diffuse the light that you're pushing into it, so the light that you're using for phone macro photography isn't as important as the big DSLR stuff. You'll get away with using a torch light to do macro photography as long as you've got a diffuser on your phone. If you're having trouble finding bugs to photograph, and it can happen, look for water. Bugs need water too. So wherever there's a water source, that could be one of your pets, the water bowl for your pets, it could be a dam, it could be anything, river, stream, puddles of water out in the gutter, anywhere, you're probably going to find bugs near it because, well, they need to drink too. Seasons matter. In the winter, there's going to be less bugs around. That's just a fact of life. In summer, where I live right here, you can count, you know it's summer because of the amount of flies that you swallow. But right now, it's still, we're towards the end of winter now, and there's bugger all flies around. So it's going to be a little bit harder for me to find bugs. So keep that in mind. If it's winter, you're not going to find as many. Have fun with it. This is really good fun. It's an unusual genre of photography, and with phone photography, it's dead set cheap to get into. You can buy a macro lens for a DSLR and it costs you $1,000. One of these, it'll cost you about $100, and it's good quality glass. We're getting some really good photos out of this. So don't just limit yourself to taking photos with macro. Slow-mo, that exists on pretty much every phone that is out there now. Slow-mo with macro, it's a marriage made in heaven. That thing is just awesome. The possibilities really are endless. There's so many things you can photograph with macro photography. I've come out to the garden, got lots of things in the garden here to take photos of. A few little flowers, it's winter, so there's not that many. A few little bugs, flies, ants, spider, and well, you're limited to your imagination. Here's some more examples to finish off. I'll see you guys next week.